It was tremendously exciting. It was the middle of winter. I'd left the beach in Corco on a Thursday night to start work in New York on a Monday morning. It was wonderful. And after about 2 weeks, I got a little bit homesick. And I used to live in a place up on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And on Friday night on the way home, I thought, you know what, I'm going to stop in for a drink. Now, I don't know how many of you have gone into a bar by yourself to have a drink by yourself, but it's pretty desperate. And I was pretty desperate. And as I was sitting at the bar, and I remember it vividly, it was called Drake's Drum. It's on the corner of 84th and 2nd. I was sitting by myself, obviously looking pretty desperate. And a group of people walked in, young women and men of my age, and obviously detected that I was feeling a little bit lonely, and picked me up. They are now the closest friends that I have in my life. And so began a period of networking, which has resulted in me being here today. So let me turn back the clock a little bit. With these friends, we would often meet on a Monday evening in Manhattan and watch at any bar where we happened to be over a couple of drinks, Monday Night Football. For those of you who've been to America, it's a little bit of a cult thing where you go and you watch Monday Night NFL. If you like football at all, it was a fun thing to do. So after I'd been in New York for 2 years and had a number of Monday Night Football events, I was at another bar on 2nd Avenue. And one of the guys at the bar, who was an Irishman who I met subsequently, his name was Rory Mulcahy. He said, Stephen, I want you to meet someone. This guy is a vice chairman of a company called Solomon Brothers. Now, I had no idea what Solomon Brothers was or did or whatever else. So he introduced me to this guy. He looked like a baby. His name was John Merriweather. Now, for those of you that have read a book called Liar's Poker, written by Michael Lewis, there's a lot about John Merriweather in that book. So I met this guy called John Merriweather, and we talked for a long time. And he said, you know, if you're interested, why don't you come down tomorrow to the office and see what we do? So the following morning, I went down to the trading floor of Solomon Brothers in late 1982 to watch what they did. And I subsequently went down 11 or 12 times. And to me, they were just wonderful discussions and learning about what was going on. Little did I know they were interviews. And the last one was a little bit abusive. And this guy who talked to me, and his name in the book Liar's Poker was described as a BSD. And I won't elaborate what that is, but some of you who have read the book will understand what it is. And he was being very aggressive with me. Who do you think you are? You're an Australian, you're educated in Australia, you work in the diplomatic service, what do you know about Wall Street? It went on for half an hour. And finally I just lost my temper, and I started to push back. And we finished the conversation with the expression, well, even if you thought you were good enough, if we offered you a job, would you take it? And I said, yes. And it suddenly dawned upon me that these were interviews. And I went back to my office, which was at Rockefeller Center, and I sat down with the then Consul General, who was a guy called Dennis Corden, and I said, Dennis, I think I've just been offered a job at this company called Solomon Brothers. He said, you're kidding? I said, I don't think so. He said, you're going to take it. So I did. I was one of 40 trainees in the second training program of Solomon Brothers, the one before Michael Lewis wrote his book, Liar's Poker. The history of that training program, and some of you have heard this story, but the then CEO of Solomon Brothers, am I allowed to go on a little bit here? Have another drink. The then CEO of Solomon Brothers was a guy called John Goodfriend. He was a very intimidating man. He was on the front page of Time magazine in the mid-1980s as the king of Wall Street. And in 1981, he was very concerned about how people transitioned from college to Solomon Brothers. So he hired the head of human resources at a company called Procter & Gamble. And he said to this guy, I want you to develop a training program. And we're going to hire graduates for this training program. We're not going to hire them to be traders or investment bankers or a specific role. We want them to understand the whole company. So you're going to hire 40 people for this program. And he said, the rules are very simple. They have to hire the best, the brightest, the most aggressive, the greediest, the da-da-da-da. But rule number one, no assholes. Which brings me to this industry. And this networking. Because you look around the room, and I kid you not, there is something that in the time that I've been in this industry that's been a constant. And the first one is change. One of the great things about the finance industry, if you don't like it, stick around, it will change. The changes will be driven by markets, by governments, by whatever. The second greatest thing about this business, even more so, is the people. And you think back to what good friends said, the best, the brightest, the smartest, but overall, no ugly people. You have to get on. So as you look around the room, each and every one of you has a certain degree of intelligence because that's what's attracted you to this business. But each and every one of you also understand what it is to work in a team. The importance of networking. Okay, let me go back to the story a little bit now. I'll talk to you about the rest of my life. I came back to Australia in the mid-1980s. And I was working for Sullivan Brothers at that stage, and I was living in an apartment in Neutral Bay. Below a lady called Carolyn Houston and Nigel Stewart, who is one of the leaders here tonight. And I go back a long way because Nigel happened to be a friend of Carolyn Houston at the time. Carolyn and I went to a Christmas party one evening that Nigel was at probably, and I met my wife. Carolyn introduced me to my wife. I was a member of the Australian Swap Dealers Committee, which introduced me to people who worked for Schroders, which is how I met Carolyn. Networking. So not only did it impact where I worked, it impacted me meeting my wife. To this day, the network that I started, well, it started with me at that training program in Sullivan Brothers in 1983, is still intact. One of the people that started with me is a gentleman by the name of Michael Corback, who is currently the CEO of Citi globally. Another one is Jamie Faris, who is currently the president of Citi globally. I've really screwed up somewhere, right? But we had a reunion last year of the 40 trainees in that program. 39 turned up. One unfortunate was killed in 9/11. So I cannot begin to even illustrate to you how important what you are doing tonight is. Not just listening to the experiences and the expertise and the knowledge of the leaders that you will meet as they rotate around the room, but get to know each other. Because again, the people that I met when I came back to Australia in the mid-1980s are now my closest friends, and they're my clients. My life revolves around the people I've met, networking in some way, shape, or form. Think about it. That's the way it works. It's a great thing about this business because the people you network with are among the brightest, are among the friendliest, who understand teamwork. Utilize that. It will change your lives. Networking will change your lives. I guarantee it. So, welcome. Enjoy the evening. I would like to acknowledge that this has actually been sponsored by the Citi Women's Network, which brings me to another bugbear in my life, which is diversity. And I have to say, as I look around the room, I would venture to suggest there is a majority of women here tonight. Please stay in this industry. Please stay in this industry because we have a huge diversity challenge in this business. And if you are thinking about leaving this industry, it's just advice to women, please call me. Ask why, so I can learn why we lose so many women in this business. Because we're disadvantaged. Because the balance that is apparent in this room and at the stage of your career where you are at does not continue. So help me, help you to to maintain the balance that's in this room tonight through the rest of your careers. Please. So welcome, enjoy the evening. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to hearing the results of your networking. Make the most of it.